and welcome back to another episode of Alignment Academy. I just got off the phone with Kim when I'm creating this intro, and this episode is one of the most important and one of my favorite episodes I've ever recorded on Alignment Academy. If you've been following me closely on Instagram, you know that I've been doing a parasite cleanse, and I have weirdly just felt really called to talk about it. That's not my normal content. It's not what I usually do, but I was just like, I think I need to share this journey. It was super intuitive. And then as I was doing it, I was learning about parasites and how basically everyone has them. They're everywhere in our food, in our vegetables, in our water, on the ground. And I just kind of became obsessed with this concept. Not obsessed with like cleansing, but just obsessed with sharing this knowledge. So anyway, I asked Kim Rogers to come on my podcast and started learning more about her journey and realized how much of a connection there is from the spiritual and soul realm to the parasite realm. And in all of her interviews on the internet, and I've listened to them all, there was no information about it. I was like, I want to know more about like how she uncovered all of this parasite stuff. She says it was from mushrooms, but tell me more. You guys know I'm a mushroom girly. And I was like, I'm going to ask her myself. In this episode, we cover so much. We cover the basics, like where parasites live, the diet, some of the symptoms you might have if you have parasites, things like that. But we go so much deeper into the spiritual connection between parasites and your self-worth. We go into the connection between your frequency and what parasites do to your frequency. Spoiler alert, they pull down your frequency a lot. We go into water, we go into animals, we go into some crazy stuff. So I am so excited for you to listen to this episode. If you are ready to cleanse after this episode, then I'm going to have everything linked below. I'm going to have her ParaFy kit. I'll have microdoses linked below. I'll have water filtration systems linked below. All of the good stuff. Kristen is in her cleansing era. She's in her health era. Maybe that's the era I'm in now. So I'm just, yeah, so excited. And by the way, I did finish ParaFy. And to be honest, I had a lot of release of worms. I'm just going to say it. I released so much. Yes, I did see them. They were dead. I'm still releasing, and I'm actually going to do the cleanse again because I just have more, and that's a pretty normal thing. You'll hear about that on the show. We talked about it. Really excited for you guys to listen to this one. Let me know your thoughts. DM me all of your takeaways, your questions. Tag me in your ParaFy kit, and if you use the link below, you will get a little discount off from Rogershood Apothecary, which is Kim's business. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and if you're watching it on Spotify or Apple, please leave us a review, rate us 5 stars, all those good things. This really helps the channel grow, and I know it is a small ask, but it makes a huge impact on the show and who it gets out to. So without further ado, here is Kim Rogers from Rogershood Apothecary. Let's talk about some parasites, baby. Kim Rogers, the worm queen, welcome to Alignment Academy.
Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to talk to you about parasites. To be completely honest, me being a little parasite girl was not in my bingo card for 2025, but here we are.
Was not in my bingo card for Kim Rogers' life.
Yeah, you've really changed my life. So my audience knows, and they've been following me on Instagram, and I've been sharing the journey. I have just completed your ParaFy kit for the first time. I saw a lot. People always ask me, did it work? Is this legit? And I'm like, I just keep it simple. I say, yes, it worked. But I want to really start at the beginning because when you go to your page, you make it seem like almost everyone has parasites. So, is that true?
Yes, everyone has parasites. I guess it's just how your symptoms start to kind of get worse or they lay dormant. So, yes, everyone has some form of a parasite.
And I want to talk a little bit about people who might be like, no, I don't. I'm not having symptoms. I got tested
Right.
and it said I didn't have parasites. I feel like something for me that really helps is having the education. And I love that you educate people. So explain why we all have parasites.
So if you have pets, you have a parasite, more than likely. I had the same parasite as my dogs. They cycle. That's really the problem is that you can see them at certain times in a lab result, and you might not. And you might not have collected your stool correctly either. And so, just an example, I did a test just for Lyme, and I found out I had Lyme, and I only showed two Borrelia bands. But when I did it again last month, I had 20. So it just shows you how stealthy these environmental toxins are. They don't want to be seen. They're evaders. They just are able to come and go as they please. They have a biofilm that coats around them, so it's really hard to detect them. And we don't really have great labs here in Western medicine, not just here in the United States. I'm saying like all Western medicine countries like Canada, Australia, the United States. Other places like Mexico, they have great labs. In fact, that's where I found out that I had Cryptosporidium parvium, roundworm, and pinworms was because my stool went to Mexico in order to be tested correctly. So, it's really hard to detect them. That's why I just say, listen, just cleanse like 3 to 4 times a year minimum. That's why you should do the ParaFy 3 to 4 times because you just don't know. And you can collect parasites. I say collect because that's kind of what happens through eating.
What are the most common foods that they come in, that
Well,
they live in?
salmon. It makes me sad because I love salmon. I still love salmon to this day, but I don't eat it. Now, I do eat questionably. I will have like things that are steamed because anything above a certain temperature will kind of unalive them, but
Mm.
freezing doesn't always work. So fish. Meat like pork. Pork has a lot of worms in it. RFK Jr. has a tapeworm in his brain from eating
Currently?
pork. I mean, it's still
Oh, he
there.
ha Oh, wow.
Yeah, the body of it's still there, but it got unalived, is what we were told.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So pork, salmon, what else?
Um, not cooking your cow good enough, your beef.
Mm.
Produce. I know all these vegetarians and vegans come up on my page and they're like, well, I don't eat meat. And it's like, well, actually, if you eat raw produce, you're more susceptible than even if you eat meat. Because at least with the meat, you're cooking it and it's kind of calming, getting rid of the stuff, right? But when you're just eating raw produce, not cooking your food.
I saw some parasites on your page and some Costco nuts the other day.
Ah, I was
What was
shocked.
that all about?
Well, those are grown, right? They're outside. And so that thing, the worm probably crawled inside of the cashew and then just, hung out. And I just found out that when you have salt cravings, you actually could have a parasite. And I have salt cravings all the time.
I'm addicted to salt,
Same,
so.
same.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk about that reproduction that you mentioned in the beginning. This is
Mhm.
something I'm genuinely really interested in. Okay, so I'm going to be just like super frank with my audience and
Okay.
you. So I've just completed ParaFy. I think I still have more worms. And I know I'm going to cleanse again. And I actually had the craziest die off symptoms like like days 27 to 31. I did it a couple more days because I reached out to your team and they were like, yeah, just finish ParaFy
Yeah.
for, because it has a little bit more in the kit than you need for 30 days. But what I'm thinking is I'm like, if this is my first time cleansing, does that mean I have maybe way more worms than someone who cleanses regularly because they just keep reproducing and reproducing and reproducing and reproducing? Like, do these things die? Give us the tea.
Do they? I mean, eventually they will. I would say that I made the kit 30 days specifically because that's about the attention span that we've been kind of indoctrinated with, right? And you need instructions. And so around day 21 is when you make or break a habit. So by day 30, you're going to know if one, you should continue. So if you do, you take a 7-day break because they do cycle and they do lay eggs on the way out. And that's about average 7 to 21 days is a cycle of a parasite that'll drop an egg and then process more, move in your body.
I'm just going to highlight what you just said because I feel like, if people are walking and listening, they might have not gotten that. As they're dying, they're laying eggs. Is that what you just said?
Correct. They're not just laying eggs, but they are dropping other things like heavy metals, spores, viruses, bacteria. But the big one for to know whether or not you should continue cleansing is they're laying their eggs on the way out. When they feel like scared and when they feel like their life is in jeopardy, because it is when you take the ParaFy kit. I mean, let's be real. They know they're a frequency inside of your body. So they know that it's coming. So they're starting to feel afraid. So they're laying their next generation so they can continue to go.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to clear that out for anyone who's maybe listening and like, Kristen, I'm not having any symptoms, but let's actually talk about symptoms. I know that you talk about this, you know, Kim has so many podcasts out in there, and I really want to talk about some other things, but let's just get the basics down here. What are some symptoms that you might have parasites, the big ones?
Grinding your teeth, drooling at night, skin issues, bloating after eating,
Hmm.
salt cravings and sugar cravings because they can control your mind. So they're kind of telling you what to eat. Anxiety, really kind of not having good self-worth is a big one because they eat our
Wow.
serotonin. So a lot of people that have that really low self-esteem can have it. Itchy butt.
Wow. I actually want to talk about some of the symptoms that I've had, and I want to get your take on them real time. So I have had intense sleep issues
Yeah,
for not my entire life, but for maybe the last 6, 7 years. And on this parasite cleanse, not only have I been able to sleep better, but I wake up naturally 6 a.m. full of energy.
nice. That's awesome.
So, do you think that that was a parasite symptom?
Yes. They are nocturnal creatures and they'll stay up all night because around 7 p.m. is when they wake up and they're ready to eat and party. So if you have cravings at night, specifically sugar cravings, you have a parasite. Whether it's candida, which is also a parasite, or something like pinworms or roundworm. Those are physical worms, those are nematodes. So, yes. And then they make you sleep all day because you've been up all night with them.
Wow. Okay. And then another weird symptom I had, which I am almost positive this is parasites, and I'll tell you why, is right before bed, only right before bed, I would get the itchiest eyes and I would get like an allergy attack and I would have to take some allergy medicine. Probably a couple times, I don't know, like maybe 10 times a month that would happen. I would just get this random allergy attack and I'd be like, I don't know why I'm getting allergies right now, but I think now that I'm done with ParaFy, do you think that was parasites?
I do because they can live in our lymphatic system and they can live in our respiratory. And I've had a lot of people blow them out their nose. And so, especially threadworms, people don't realize pinworm and threadworms are actually the same thing. And
Mm.
so, threadworms can live in your lymphatic system and in your respiratory system. And they're small and they're stealthy. So some people that blow them out their nose think, oh, this is just buggers, but really they're long and stringy. And you'll know. Have you ever blown
Wow.
anything out your nose
I
crazy?
I haven't blown anything out of my nose, no. But so it's interesting. The reason why I think I need to cleanse again sooner rather than later is because on day like this was like day 33 of the cleanse. So I was like technically done with the cleanse. I had dinner with my friend. I was starting to reintroduce food into the diet into my diet. And it happened to be like Valentine's Day around then. So we had some sugar, we had some dessert. This is after, over a month of me not eating any sugar, any
Mhm.
dessert. And I'm done with the cleanse. And I had some sugar, came home, and I had the craziest allergy attack and some other pinworm symptoms that, you know, are obvious. And I was like, the only thing I didn't eat a bad dinner. I just ate sugar and I ate a little bit of tomatoes. And I know tomatoes are one of the things that I think that they feed on. And I was
Right.
like, I think that this is a parasitic symptom.
Well, it's a histamine reaction for sure because they live in biofilm and mucus. And so that's their way of staying in their protection, but absorbing everything that you're eating. And, they can take 90% of our nutrients, whether that's 90%
Yeah.
with sugar. But because I know that you're having these issues, you should put ParaFy like 3 to 4 drops in a neti pot or in one of those electric sucker upper things that they sell. That's what my husband does, and he had them up in his respiratory. And if you have mold, it'll help kind of flush that out as well, just in case. But that's the
Wow.
best thing to do is to put the herbs inside of that and just kind of rinse them because it'll get up inside your respiratory system and help you out.
Okay, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah,
The more you know.
totally.
So, I actually want to go back to one of the symptoms that you said because I know that this is something that a lot of people in my community are dealing with, self-worth and mental health issues. Can you talk about this? Give us a little bit more info. You said they control our mind. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so we'll go over the toxoplasmosis cat parasite, and that will give people a better idea of how easily something that is alive inside of our bodies can control you. So, with toxoplasmosis, it lives in a mouse, and that mouse goes and cuddles up with a cat because the next stages of toxo is in the cat's gut, which is the enzyme that brings the toxo to the next stage. And then it goes to the bathroom and you scoop the poop and you don't wash your hands or something happens or the cat has something on its bum and comes up. Doesn't even have to just be a cat, but that's the one we all know toxoplasmosis lives in. They always say don't scoop cat poop while you're pregnant, but anyone can get toxo. And then what it did to the mouse was it controlled its mind thinking that it has no fear, it's going to go hang out with the cat to get eaten. So they did studies, and the studies showed that people that were fearless and promiscuous had toxoplasmosis because it removed the fear. This parasite went in and removed the fear. So like people that rode crotch rockets and died on them, they did an autopsy and they tested them for toxo. I guess people in Mexico wanna that are fighters and go down and actually like get toxo so they're not afraid while they're fighting.
They give
They
themselves parasites so they're
yes,
not afraid.
yes, yes, so that they're not afraid to get into the fights. It's crazy, but that's how it can control you. It can control what you think you want to eat. That's a controlling mechanism because you're not feeding yourself, you're feeding them. So it really is something that they get into our blood, our tissue, and our muscle, and they can cause us to feel anxious. They can cause us because they can hold the trauma. And so when you're doing a parasite cleanse, sometimes traumatic things will come up and you have to like work them out right then because literally you're killing something off that's holding on to it.
What I'm really hearing, and we're going to get into this, is I feel like
Okay.
there's actually a deep spiritual
Yes.
connection between parasites and like trauma and mental health that is like actually not talked about.
Right. And it's so overwhelming to people that I kind of don't talk a whole lot about it just because it is overwhelming, especially when you're in this cleanse and you're having physical symptoms and you realize, oh my gosh, I'm also having mental symptoms as well because all of this is coming up. So you really do need to be somewhat ready while you're cleansing that you're going to go through a few things. And that's why I do mushrooms too, because while I'm doing these things that are coming up, I'm trying to level myself up so that I can come out of the cleanse a better person mentally and physically.
So you recommend, I'm a big microdosing girly. I love
Yeah.
microdosing. Is that what you recommend, or are you doing other types like lion's mane or cordyceps or what?
Well, I always do lion's mane, cordyceps, reishi, turkey tail, maitake. They're my jam. I've been doing this for years. It's what got me on the path of herbal life. Yeah, I mean, my husband paused our log home to grow me mushrooms to heal my brain.
Okay, so this is a great segue. So, yeah, we've been talking just about parasites, but you are Miss Worm Queen.
Yeah.
How did you get here, Kim?
Well, I didn't want to be worm lady, and I make sure I say that all the time.
You are
I
a
wanted to
queen.
be,
You are a
yeah, I
queen.
wanted to be crowned. I'm crowned. It's great. I love it. I play off of that all day, every day. It's the best. So in 2019, I was circling the drain. I don't know if you've seen my before and after. I can show you. It's quite shocking.
We'll place it
Um,
on the screen right here so you guys can see.
in 2019, my husband and I left our careers. So I had run 25 medical colleges. I was a professor. I wrote books. I've been in Western medicine since 2004, and I could not get help. I had 13 surgeries. I had a hysterectomy. My endometriosis was out of control, and I was circling the drain. Well, now I know it's because I had Cryptosporidium parvium, I had chronic Lyme, I was in mold, all of these things, these environmental toxins were affecting me. But at the time, we had no idea. So my husband left his career, I left my career. We went out to our property in Hoodsport, Washington to build our log home with our bare hands. And in the process, I realized I needed to get off of all of my big pharma medications. I was on Klonopin for my anxiety and PTSD for 22 years. I was on 4 milligrams. And so I did a lot of deep dives into what is the best way for me personally. This is not medical advice, but what I did to get off of it. And of course, mushrooms kept popping up. It was psilocybin and turkey tail and lion's mane to, you know, fix my brain and help my brain because those things actually do help. They're not a band-aid. So fast forward 2 years and I'm doing a little bit better, but not to the point that I was like, wow, this is so fabulous. And let me tell you, I did a lot of mushrooms. My husband stopped everything he was doing to grow them for me. So of course we had an abundance of them.
Like
So
psilocybin?
oh, yeah, I would sit every day and do, micro to 1 gram a day. And I would meditate on my plant and really dig in and figure out what is wrong with me. Like, oh my gosh, I've been fighting this battle for like decades. Like, what's going on with me? And so I just went as far in as I possibly could. Oh, yeah.
Kim, you are deeply tapped in spiritual being. This is part of your story that through all of the interviews I've watched, like this is not touched on. So let's dive into this.
Okay.
You just said that daily you would either
Really?
microdose to take a gram, which guys is kind of a lot. Like a gram's a, like you feel something. Um, Tell us about, okay, like how long did this period last? And tell us what happened in these meditations.
A year. I did this for a little over a year every day.
Was this like just an intuitive nudge? Like, I think I just need to sit with psilocybin and figure it out.
Yes. Yeah, it was wild how much I did not know, but intuitively I knew. And same with my husband. It's not like we just all of a sudden one day we were doing research and we were in the woods, and we were like, we've got to get this house done. We had the foundation and some logs put on it, and it was just kind of sitting there in an empty shell. And I looked over at my husband. I said, listen, I got to heal myself because I really need to figure out this life because like I'm not going to die while trying to build a
Mm.
log home. Come to find out, we were in mold. Our water had worms in it. That's what was making me even sicker is we tested all of our water. It was contaminated. So I'm just like all forces coming each way. I just need a break, man. I just need a break. I'm literally just
I'm gonna
gonna
go to
go.
another dimension.
I'm just going every day to this dimension out here. Every day. And some days it was just like, a little bit like 0.25, but we grew it ourselves. So it was really potent mushrooms. And then I would have to reset because if you do
Yeah,
too many micros, you have to then reset. So I would reset on Fridays. And so we just
just one
knew.
day.
So I'm like, oh, wait. So I got myself up to like 1 gram. So I have to take like 1.5 grams, Jeremy. And he'd be like, yeah. I'm like, cool, man. I'm not going to be anything today except for just me sitting here meditating.
Okay, so you are here for a year. You're having these intuitive nudges to meditate. You're sitting with Mrs. Mushrooms, you know. What is happening in these meditations? Like, I want you to tell us, give us one of the most profound experiences that you had when you were like getting the information of what to do, because I'm guessing you were getting when mushrooms, they do speak to you when you take larger doses, and you actually create a really beautiful relationship with them. For people who have never sat with them or used them or microdose, like it really becomes almost like a friend. So is that kind of what happened? Tell us your experience with psilocybin.
So I had two different experiences in two different months. The first time I really sat with the mushrooms, they kept telling me cleanse. And I think that's why I say it so much because it's such a beautiful word. Cleanse, cleanse, cleanse. And then every time I would like open up my TikTok, because I had a small TikTok account, it was like 10,000 followers. I taught them how to grow mushrooms and I taught them how to build a log home. So I was showing my life.
Okay.
And I would show them like the outside where I'd go hiking every day.
Mm.
But I would hear the word cleanse, and I'm like, what do you mean, like cabbage cleanse? Because like in the 90s, my mom would cabbage cleanse with us, where you would make cabbage soup and you would just
Mhm.
like take that for days. I'm like, what do you mean, cabbage cleanse? And then they were like, no. And they kept saying, check your water. And I'm like, okay, this is just weird. Okay, I'm going into another dimension now. This is so weird, right? Because like I come from Western medicine. I'm very black and white when it comes to the body and the understanding of everything. And so then I had a Kundalini awakening and it was a little rough. It was different and I could feel it, it was not comfortable. And then that's when I would take mushrooms, they would speak to me and tell me that I really need to look at water. I need to look at the food. Food is medicine. And so it just all the downloads were coming to me pretty fast at that point. And most people think, okay, when you're meditating, you're just sitting. But sometimes I would meditate and I would do circles around my property. And so and I would listen, I would hear, I would listen to like law of attraction, which I'd never done any of that. So it was just intuitively coming into me at the time because of the mushrooms.
Holy cow. For anyone
Yeah.
who's like, what the heck is a Kundalini awakening? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Basically, it's where all of a sudden all of your chakras open at once.
Mm.
And a lot of people think it can be a negative thing. And so when I do talk about it, I do get some backlash because they're like, ooh, it's the devil. But in my case, it was not. It was super amazing because it led me to understand one, the human body better, two, that we have worms. And that's really what is wrong with me at this point in time in my life. And I mean, I'm telling you, I had 13 surgeries. No one could help me. Like that we were at the last of the last resort for us. We were getting our affairs in order when we went out to that property. So
Mm.
the fact that something came down and spiritually told me, look, you should look into herbs. You should look into these things. You should
Mm.
consider that this could be what's wrong with you, Kim. And like my husband and I would go months and not talk to anyone. It was during 2020 as well. So, and we live in Washington. So it was very isolating in
Uh-huh.
Washington state. So, I'm just like gathering everything I possibly can at this point because what do I have to lose? Except for
Nothing.
not right, exactly. So
Nothing.
I'm gonna like go and tap in here. I'm gonna tap in here. I found out about Amanita, which is this mushroom behind me. It's the red top with the white, dots on it. That's the mushroom that I pay homage to because I actually learned how to break it down and make muscimol and help me get off of my Klonopin after 22 years. So I learned how to break that down into a tea. The mushrooms taught me all of this. It's not like I went to school for this, but I do understand frequencies and I do understand how herbs can come into your body like an opera singer singing and breaking that glass. You find your ailment and you find the herb frequency to shatter the ailment, and you can actually heal your body using herbs because you know which herb. That's all that they've done to make synthetic medications. So I just studied pharmacology in college and I just applied it in herbs. So, and I applied that with my brain too. I would sit there and I'd be like, all right, so I'm having this kind of a day today. Which mushroom should I take?
Wow. Okay. I have literally so many questions. I'm going to make a quick assumption about you if you listen to Alignment Academy, the podcast, that Ever since you were little, you just had this deep feeling that you were meant for big things in this world. You weren't here to be ordinary, but you were here to be a mover and a shaker. Hi, I'm Kristen, and same. Except for years, I was self-sabotaging because even though I felt in my soul that I was here to do extremely big things, I could not stop procrastinating, self-sabotaging, feeling massive amounts of imposter syndrome, and don't forget getting triggered as fuck every single day of my life. And honestly, I didn't know what to do. And then I found inner work. I found energy healing. I found all of the modalities that I still use today. The spiritual tools that I use feel like I found a hack to this universe. Like, the rules don't apply to me because I know how to shift my vibration. I know how to reprogram my subconscious mind. I know how to give myself any beliefs that I want to believe about the world, like money comes easy to me and the rules don't apply to me and I don't need a real job. These are all just beliefs that I believe about myself. If you're similar to me, you know you have a big mission, but you know it's also time to get out of your own way and heal your blocks for good so you can actually just take action on your mission. This is why I created Alignment Academy, the membership. Inside this membership, you are going to get everything from live coaching sessions with me monthly, all of my best-selling heart work meditations and hypnosises. You're going to get all of my energy healing activations to do energy work on yourself anytime you want. Not to mention, as soon as you enroll, you get a library of 9 past masterclasses and 8 on-demand meditations. But the very best part is the people in the community. This is some of the most heart-centered, amazing humans I've ever come in contact with. Honestly, people have made friends in this group. They've met up in person in this group. It's the place to be. This is seriously the only space on the internet that weaves quantum manifestation, inner work, and business to help you quantum leap in your soul's growth and your business growth. If you're serious about healing, getting out of your own way, and taking massive action this year, then join with the link below. See you inside. Let's stop at frequency. Okay.
Okay.
Because I've actually heard you say this a couple times, and I'm a huge frequency girl. Like, you know, and honestly, I don't think you're going to get any backlash on this podcast. Like, we are talking about channeling, spirit guides, all the things. So
Good.
Kundalini awakening is right on schedule here. But when you said you found the frequency of the illness in your body and then you found the right herb or mushroom, I'm actually confused about that. So like, how would you find the frequency of the ailment in your body? Or did I say that wrong?
No,
Correct
you
me.
said it. No, it's good the way you said it. Usually, if you have something like worms, it's wormwood, Oregon grapefruit, but that's so general that you have to get a little more specific. So, like Oregon grapefruit, which is in our tincture sustain, is for small intestinal parasites, which is what I had. But it small intestinal parasites also make you feel bad about yourself. That's like that's how I know it's time for me to cleanse is I start to feel unworthy. And so then I go and I take the herb that helps with the small intestinal issue because I know that that emotion comes from that area of your body.
So where does one start with that? Like, I'm still confused on like,
Mhm.
okay, if I'm trying to find the herb for to match the frequency, where would I start?
Well, what's the ailment? So if you have a headache, right? And the ailment is pain, then you would bring in white willow bark.
And then how do you, okay, I see. So you're looking at the ailment. So you're kind of
Mhm.
like looking at like the theme of the ailment, right? So like let's do the allergy one. Let's do
Okay.
allergies. So
Okay.
itchy, maybe?
Sure. I don't know what the herb is off the top of my head for
That's
itchy.
okay. Okay, let's do another one then.
I mean, I can pull out my book.
No, okay. So this was actually this is actually making sense now. You have a book. I'm like,
I have
but
one
how do you
book.
know which
So,
herb?
okay, but I didn't have that book when I started this journey. I actually got that book to make sure. Funny because I just intuitively knew because I literally became one with everything, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
I know what you mean.
it's crazy. It's crazy that you can do this in a life. It's crazy that it can. And so I feel like I just kind of, because pharmacology was one of my favorite things, but I learned how to process synthetics. I didn't learn how to process herbs. So I do have some education behind pharmacy and knowing the body. And so that's so helpful because I've dedicated my life for the last 20 years to the human body and understanding it. So it's really
Mm.
helpful to know that. And while I was going through this, I also learned about frequencies and listening to them with subliminal messages and what frequency at the time is the best. So, like sometimes at nighttime, I'll listen to a calm and speaking with confidence frequency with subliminal messages inside of the frequency because it's all about how you can trick the mind and tailor the mind and fix the subconscious. So when you're thinking about all of this stuff, it's so easy to kind of trick it, right? Like, okay, I'm going to take this herb. It's going to change my frequency so that it's to a homeostasis level. Oh, that wasn't enough. I'm going to take the herb and I'm going to listen to a frequency so that I'm bringing myself back into a normal homeostasis level, which is where we need to be at all times. And that's what we're trying to do every day. We're literally trying every day to wake up and get rid of all of the yuck that has changed our frequency. And what's hard about the worms and the mold and the parasites is they're their own frequency. So now you
Mm.
have to auto correct even more to get your frequency to that level to get rid of them. So again, it goes back to shattering the glass. If wormwood is good for removing parasites like roundworm, then it's matching the same frequency as the roundworm. So now you've just removed that frequency and you don't have to fight with that frequency anymore.
Oh my gosh. I am bugging out right now because I know you might not know a lot about what I do, but basically, my entire work is based in subconscious reprogramming
Okay.
to increase worthiness, to basically get what you want in life, right? And so now that we're talking about this, and I love how you're saying like you're using the herbs and then you're on top using subliminals and you're changing your unconscious mind to believe what you desire to believe or get your brain to the frequency that is optimal for what you want to create in life. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes. You're hacking your mind,
You are
basically.
hacking your mind. And
Yeah.
so, what I'm also hearing and getting from this conversation is that when you have parasites, it could be one of the biggest things that is holding, like if you're doing the unconscious reprogramming and maybe it's not working or it's
Yes.
not being effective, you could just have freaking parasites in your mind that are stopping you from raising your frequency to a certain degree.
That's what happened to me because I'm doing all the things. I'm meditating, I'm doing mushrooms, I'm really doing a lot of functional mushrooms. I changed my eating habits. I went on the blood type diet because, again, food is a frequency, food is medicine. So I'm like, okay, all of these things, I'm doing all of these things. And I was doing them for a year and a half and I was getting better, like better than I'd ever been, but I wasn't my best. And I
Mhm.
could feel something else was going on with me. And that's when I started to go deeper and started to do more meditations, like 8 hours a day instead of just 6 hours a day. I would sit all day long. And also remember, I was very chronically ill. So, what else did I have going on? I couldn't build my home with my husband anymore. We now know we were living in Aspergillus niger poisoning, which is its own frequency of mold, right? And so, what else can I do? So I'm like, all right, well, I've gotten myself to this point. What else can I do now? And so that's when I started digging even deeper. And I'm telling you, within 3 days, I knew that I had parasites. I knew after doing my cleanse, or not my cleanse, I did Paragard first, but it was just Paragard. I didn't bind, I didn't do all the things. And that's really what made me make this kit is that one, I would spend 8 hours a day talking about someone else's product that I couldn't get all of the ingredients given to me. And I wanted to know every ingredient that I was putting in my body at this point. Like there was no way around it. That is exactly what I was doing in my life going forward. I would never put anything in my mouth if I didn't know intentionally I was doing something wrong. If you can't
Wow.
give me the ingredients inside of your product and you just put natural ingredients or natural flavoring or color, caramel flavoring, I can't, like, I'm not going to talk about this with all of these people that were trying to self heal when I started going viral over on TikTok. It's really what pushed me to make the ParaFy kit because I was going viral. But back to, I really wanted to understand what was wrong with me. I didn't want just a doctor to come to me, which at the time they were my colleagues because I worked in the field and I worked with a lot of the doctors that treated me. So I wanted to know what was going on with me, you know? And so I really figured that out once I did my first cleanse. And within 3 days, I saw flukes, I saw roundworm, I saw pinworms, and you can't see cryptosporidium parvium. I had to send my stool out for that, but it was really like a life changer for me in those moments. And then I started to actually have even more intuition. I started trusting myself because before I wouldn't trust myself. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, like I really have all of the answers inside of me. And so it was like this foundation with the mushrooms that built me to be able for me to build my house, remodel my house. So,
Wow. In more ways than one.
yeah, totally. Right. And we're builders. So I always try and use, people are like, you use a lot of building analogies. I built 5 houses with my husband. I built 3 houses and a shop because we manufacture our own products. And so we had to build a 10,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Jonesboro, and we did it ourselves. So I'm a
Mm.
builder.
Girl, you are so much deeper than you let off. Like, I know that people just want to know about the parasites, but like for me,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I want to know about all of this.
Well, and I think it gives people a better understanding of how the ParaFy kit came about too.
Mhm.
It wasn't just some random girl on TikTok that went really viral. It really was years in the making of my own health journey and understanding like what I needed to do in order to help myself. And I am just like a normal American that's chronically ill. That's the thing is I'm just like everyone else. I just happen to have 2 healthcare degrees and, I can understand things a little bit differently, but then I can explain things to people in such a better way because I'm also on the side of a professional and I went through this personally. So,
Isn't it beautiful how your soul weaved the exact experiences you needed for this mission? Because when I see you, it's so clear to me how big this mission is in the world. Like, I was actually just talking to one of my other really intuitive friends, who's actually on like day 9 of her Parafy kit from me. Okay, so Parasites is not something I would typically share on my Instagram, and neither is it on hers. Like, we're kind of like spiritual girlies, like spiritual mentors. And
right.
we were talking about how undershared it is and how this is so important. And I told her, I was like, I'm about to talk to Kim and I'm so excited because I like her mission on this earth is like so freaking big. Like, I feel like my brain has been shattered since I started this parasite cleanse of being like,
Yeah.
how did I not know? And also seeing all the things that have come out of me being like, this is so disturbing.
It And it's crazy because it's so normal in other countries, but we're so indoctrinated and we're so weighted down with these environmental toxins, and that stops us from being spiritual and trusting ourselves. And I feel like I never really trusted myself, and then bam, my Kundalini happened, and it was like, oh, you have to trust yourself, girl. There's no one left in literally you're living on in a forest. You have to trust yourself. Like you have to just know that what
You're
you
gonna
are.
die if you don't.
Exactly. Exactly. And when I say like we were prepared, we were prepared. We were mortgage free and debt free. I did not want to leave my husband with any debt because I really was the breadwinner in the family. To get us to this point, I worked a lot, but I was dying. Like I know I was dying. He knew I was dying. We had no contact with any of our family. At this point, I had had no contact with my family for 7 years. I talk to my mom daily now. So it shows you how much these parasites are energetically vampires to us. And the minute I started shattering all of these issues that I was having, and really all I've really done are ancient things, red light, castor oil. I've done some modalities like HBOT, but that wasn't until just this last year. So everything I was doing was literally from land to me knowing how to utilize those herbs and my mind. It's not easy to go on TikTok and hold your phone when you are chronically ill already. But I made like 10 videos the first day I went viral because I can help people. And that really was a huge therapy for me too. Was I'm in the woods, I'm not able to really communicate because COVID happened and it
Yeah.
caused people to not talk to everyone. And like, I'm like, all right, that's fine, man. I want to heal myself. I want to know what's wrong with me. And so you can do it too, you know?
Yeah, everyone can do it when they're, you know, clear
Yeah.
because I have so many things we need to talk about. But first, I just actually want to like shout out your husband, King, maybe. I don't know what he calls himself, but like he sounds like he went through the ringer with you and you guys are still together. So like we just need to shout him out real quick.
Jeremy's great. We love Jeremy.
Love
Um,
Jeremy.
he's so amazing. And it wasn't easy when we paused our log home build, and I'm like, yo, you gotta grow me mushrooms. I don't trust any of these people in the DMs.
And like probably also not easy when you're like, hey, I'm gonna be a parasite girly and like just blast this out to the world. He's like, what have I signed up
I
for?
That day that I went viral, so it was July 18th of 21, I saw it was 1 million people viewed my video in 2 hours. And
Insane.
it shut my phone off. It shut TikTok down. I couldn't log into TikTok for like 4 hours. And then my phone just completely shut down because it was likes and comments. And that's where I learned a ton of this information. And then obviously I went and I verified it behind the scenes. But people were like, you got to bind. Oh, yeah, we do this as farmers and ranchers. And I'm like, what are you all talking about? Like this is you get 3 minutes on this topic in college. Like that you don't even get to talk about parasites in college. And I wrote books and I would give it just a couple paragraphs. And then I'm like, it doesn't exist here. This is not even an issue. We're not even going to cover it. Okay, moving on. So I know behind the scenes how the lab technicians look at the stool. I understand the thoughts behind how Western medicine can villainize this and think that this isn't really a thing when it really is. You can see it. Like,
And
how can you can see the worms moving inside a fish that I post on my account. Like, I could post that every day, and that's all I would need to post. I have hundreds of videos that
oh
people
yeah,
send.
how many worms are in like a square inch of salmon?
10,000 microscopic eggs can be inside. And the closer to the belly, the cut, the more parasites it has. And that's why when people say, oh, I got a good cut when they're in high-end sushi restaurants, it's because it was further away from the belly. That's all that it means. I've gone down here and I've talked to Pike Market people that, the fishermen down here. I live in Seattle, and we're known for seafood, but I've also tested the water here in Seattle and it tested positive for nematodes. So our water is contaminated in our country. It's really sad because you should be filtering everything. We got to protect these temples. This is all you get in life. You don't get more of this, and it's like, why sit every day and question yourself when you literally know that this could be an issue, even if it's just a spiritual issue? I was able to like release a lot of anguish that I didn't need to go through because I was doing these cleanses, and I was adding microdosing in a lot just to kind of help me balance it because I also was getting off of heavy not narcotics but heavy benzodiazepines because that's their answer for everything, right?
And those are
So
things that you can actually create in your own body when you need them, like medicine is what I'm saying.
yeah.
I don't know if you're like into Joe Dispenza, but like you can
Oh
create a
yeah.
pharmacy. I just got back from his like the third
Oh,
retreat
that's
and
cool.
he's doing so many, I don't know how well versed you're into his newer work, but there's meditations where literally we're putting ourselves in trance and then he puts the molecule on the screen and he'll be like benzodiazepine, release it from your pineal gland, and we're all like releasing medicine from our pineal gland into our body, and he tests it in the science, like there's a whole science crew there, and like
Oh,
it's literally 100% of the time we can create a pharmacy of chemicals in our own body. So It's insane what we can do without medicine.
Right. And when you start to release these toxins that are calcifying your pineal gland or are just weighting you down, so parasites, physical worms, which are nematodes, can actually hold 6 times their weight in heavy metals, viruses, bacteria, their eggs. They're so weighted down. So anything that we have that's heavy metal is going to weight down the parasite that's then just going to absorb everything. That's why I added cilantro into Metal Flush. And that's why I added a heavy metal detox into the ParaFy kit because you should be releasing some heavy metals so that you release and unweight them. But they also use heavy metals in certain things to weight it down so that you do absorb it. So you're kind of like flushing your system out. You're totally resetting your body.
So let's actually take a moment for ParaFy because I really believe in this kit. I've never done a parasite cleanse before. However, my best friend Ari, who is actually sometimes my co-host on the podcast, so my audience knows her, she almost died and she's done a ton of parasite cleanses, right? And this was the only one that really was effective and worked. So I want to talk about ParaFy. It's a kit with 3 tinctures, 1 binder. It's called Sustain. The 3 tinctures are Sustain, ParaFy, and the heavy metal detox. And then there's the
Metal
Cinnabon,
Flush.
metal
So
flush. And then,
ParaFy, Sustain, and Metal Flush. And then
yes,
Cinnabon.
Cinnabon. So it's this kit you buy and it's supposed to be all taken together. It's curated by you. Explain how you, yeah, like give us all the tea of what feels important to share about the ParaFy kit and why everyone should ParaFy
It's so
cleanse.
good. It's just so good. Well, we make them ourselves. So I have either foraged the herbs, I have people that help me forage herbs, or we've ordered them and they're organic and ethically sourced. So we actually soak pounds of herbs. We do it the way that our ancestors used to do it. So we have a jar, we soak all of the herbs in that jar with Everclear. It's corn based, so it doesn't have gluten. And if you know how distillery distills works, then gluten is like evaporated, gone. Anyway, so we have these 3 tinctures because one is for parasites and one is for candida and bad bacteria. And there's an herb in Sustain called usnea, and usnea is a huge part of my journey here. I would meditate all day long and in the rainforest. I lived on the outskirts of the rainforest in Washington. And so all of our trees just had usnea hanging down off of them. And I would look at it and I would go, what medicine is this? Like, what are you trying to show me? What are you trying to tell me that this is going to help with? Well, now I know it helps with chronic Lyme. It's Mother Nature's doxycycline. It helps remove viruses and bacteria from the parasites as they're releasing them. It comes in and it sweeps it up. So that's kind of how cool like herbs are, especially when you're doing mushrooms. And then I realized that metal flush is something we really need because we need to release some of these heavy metals that are weighting the toxins down even more, or they're just living in them. So when you release the parasites, you want to come in and release that heavy metal as well. You don't want it to get back into your bloodstream. So, and then Cinnabon, I didn't know we needed a binder. In Western medicine, anytime you took charcoal was usually in the emergency room, and we would give it to people that overdosed, or we would give it to people that had alcohol poisoning. Not a small little microdose of it, but now I understand why you take a small amount of charcoal while you're doing a cleanse. And then I really like cinnamon, and I find that cinnamon helps with inflammation, specifically Ceylon cinnamon, which is the real cinnamon. And so that's why it's called cinnamon because it's 2 of them together.
Wow, it's so well done, so amazing. And guys, if you're wondering, like, I just want to talk about some of the high level questions that I know people will have. Like, it's actually pretty gentle. It's,
Hmm.
you take the tincture 3 times a day in a little bit of water. No, it doesn't taste amazing, but after a while, you kind of like weirdly like the taste. You're just
Like
like,
it.
wow, I can feel, you can just tell it's killing something. I'll just put it
Yeah.
that way. And then you take a binder at night. So it's like the tinctures 3 times a day, the binder at night. And you also, I think a big question that I was getting in my DMs was like, are you at the on the bathroom all the time? And no, like you do go to the bathroom every day pretty normally, but you're not, it's not like you're gonna need to be at home the whole time
Right.
or anything. Like you can still be out in the world. You might have die off symptoms, but let's talk about that. Like, what about why do we have symptoms? I mean, obviously, we talked a little bit about the mental health symptoms, but like, why do we have die off symptoms?
Well, they're peeing and pooping in our bodies. So that if you have like an ammonia smell, that's a die off. But they're also laying their eggs and they're dropping viruses, and your body is doing what it's supposed to be doing when you do feel like you have the flu or you get a headache and you get a stomach ache. That's your body being like, listen, there's something wrong. Here's my way of alerting you, telling you there's something wrong. And so that's when you're like, oh, I just need to bind, right? Because now it's released something into your bloodstream and your body is alerting you that there's something that it's starting to attack. That's why you get die-offs.
Quick interruption to this episode because I have to tell you something. And what I have to tell you is I'm literally freaking obsessed with doing energy work. This has been one of my favorite modalities that I've added to my spiritual toolbox to shift my energy really freaking quickly. And as you guys have learned in Alignment Academy, this is a vibrational based universe, meaning as your energy shifts, the reflections in your life also shift. People that you're attracting, the experiences that you're attracting, the money you make, literally everything shifts. In Alignment Academy, my membership, part of it is that there are guided energy works added to the portal every single month. And I really want you to be able to experience this energy work because, guys, it literally works so quick. Your reality shifts so quick. The testimonials have been insane inside of Alignment Academy. So, because you're a listener of Alignment Academy, I'm offering you a free guided energy work session in exchange for rating and reviewing the podcast. All you have to do is follow my podcast Instagram at Alignment Academy Pod on Instagram. And then after you've rated and reviewed the podcast, just screenshot it, send me a DM on Alignment Academy Pod, and I'll send you the link to download your free guided energy work. During this energy healing session, we're going to be working on your confidence and your self-love. When you are filled with your own confidence and your own self-love, you are magnetic as fuck to the rest of the world. Magnetism is created when we are so filled up with love for ourselves. It's also created when we just really fuck with ourselves super hard. Like, think about really magnetic people. They're not asking other people to like them or validate them. They're just like, I really fuck with me. And if you want to too, then yay. And if not, then it's all good. I can't wait for you to try this energy healing. Please DM me and let me know how it goes. And now let's get back to the episode. Do you think that when people have like bad smelling sweat or BO,
Oh,
that's
100%.
it's parasites?
I think that it's for sure bacteria coming out that's toxic.
Wow.
Well, and I have Lyme, right? So I found out a lot about this last year about how like Lyme can make you smell in a way that like I never really thought, because when they start to kind of hang out, they're creating like an ammonia in your body. And so when I know it's time too, I'm like, oh, okay, it's time to cleanse. And I'll add sometimes, depending on like my smell, I'll add like tea sol because that's really the herb frequency for Lyme. So I'll go in and I'll add different herbs while I'm doing a cleanse per my smell and also per my symptoms. So it's kind of something that happens while you're cleansing more and more. You do get way more into it. And I say we're doing this because we are in a medical awakening. We're all wanting to know what's going on in our bodies. We've had awakenings, but now you're on like a different awakening. You're wanting to know what's going on and how you can go in and stop all of these environmental toxins from attacking you. We don't have autoimmune diseases, in my opinion. We have our body attacking itself. Why is our body attacking itself? Well, it
Mm.
doesn't know what to do with mold. It doesn't know what to do with parasites. It doesn't know what to do with strep. I have strep in my brain. It doesn't know what to do. It just does what it thinks it's right. It gets inflamed, and then you have all the symptoms, and it's telling you, your symptoms are telling you something else is going on. But
Yeah.
we're for sure. I'm really proud to be a part of this medical awakening and being able to give an answer to people to how to cleanse their body. And that really is one big reason in December of 21 we started our company was because I wanted to help people understand their bodies better so that they could awaken and have a better experience as humans.
You mentioned that psilocybin and clearing all the parasites has given you a deeper connection to your intuition,
Mhm.
connection to, let's call it the other realms, or I don't know if you use spirit guides or source or whatever, you believe in, but do you feel like you still have that connection and do you use it today, like in your business to make decisions? And do you sit with mushrooms still? I want to know about that.
I do use it every day and I do sit with mushrooms. Today I sat with my mushrooms today. I did a little microdose with some lion's mane and I do it often. I will do about a once a month. I'll go on a journey just to kind of reconnect because I've gotten so busy and I don't want to lose that part of my life, which I won't, but I do have to like stop and make time for it now because I've
Mm,
gotten myself
so
crazy busy.
busy.
We have 30 employees. Like this is what I do all day long. When I do something,
Wow.
it's not a small amount. I jumped like full in, but I saw this need. There's this need for people in Western medicine countries to really understand that
Mm.
you are okay and that we're just living this experience and we should have the best experience while we're living it. And sometimes it does just take 3 to 4 times a year to deworm yourself and get rid of the inflammation and just overall reconnect. But yes, I do use my intuition a lot when it comes to timing, especially like I need a lymphatic kit. I know if I need it, other people on their ParaFy journey need it as well. So I'm starting the development. I mean, it'll be launched in May, but
Wow.
it all needs to come. And I am told like at times I'm like, oh, it's not ready, it's not ready yet. You know what I mean? Like you really need to just hold on to that and then come back to it. And so it's really just learning your cues when you're trying to trust your intuition.
It's so beautiful that you're giving people back their sovereignty. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
this is a deeper journey than just killing the bugs in your body. This is being able to be connected again, to feel worthy again, to feel confident again. Like there is so much deeper meaning behind the parasite kit. And honestly, I've seen it even in myself. Like my brain fog is gone. I feel clear. I feel confident in myself. Like you really do feel good about yourself after you do cleanse.
Mhm. Your skin's glowing. You can tell when someone's done a cleanse too. The
Thank you.
skin, yeah.
No, I was gonna say I actually got acne like a couple years ago for the first time. I was getting a lot of things, and now I think that it was just parasites after
Yeah.
seeing how many came out of my body.
God, I want to know. I want to know. So what did you see? What did you see?
Flukes, lots of
Okay.
flukes. I'm actually still releasing flukes.
Okay.
I don't know if that's normal, but
Yes.
I think it was roundworm and pinworm.
Okay. Are
Yeah,
is it like a sack? Well, was it rounded or was it long?
it was rounded.
Okay, so that's a sack of eggs. So that's good though, because then you released generations of eggs in those moments.
And a lot of rice looking ones.
Okay, so that's a tapeworm. Yeah, which, like 3 out of 5 people have them.
They do.
Do you have before pictures? Because I can really tell if you have a tapeworm from no makeup and before you cleansed because you get very dark circles under your eyes.
I have pictures of myself, yeah.
Okay,
And I'll send them to you.
okay.
Something that I'm curious about, and we're just really gonna do this on the podcast. I was gonna ask you after, but I'm like, let's just do it. They know way too much about me
Dive
already
in.
anyway. So I realized when that day after Valentine's Day, when I ate the sugar, I was having, symptoms. I was like still having a little bit of itchy bum and I was having the allergies. And I was like, okay, I think that this is pinworms. So
Hmm.
then I have another ParaFy kit that I'm gonna do in a couple months, but I was like, I did take a little break because I had to go to a retreat. I went to the Joe Dispenza retreat in the middle, and so I was like, I feel like it's fine if I cleanse for a few more days. And so I got some wormwood, and I was gonna just take a little bit more for a couple more days. But I was going to ask, like, can you detox for too long? Is that a good thing to do? Would you just tell me to take more ParaFy?
Well, I would say if you're going to keep going, then you just wait 7 days. So if you have another kit and you're having all of this going on, you should Parafy again.
Okay.
You should do back to back. I did a straight year, and there isn't anything that I haven't tried, just so that everyone knows. I've tried everything. I've done it all, and I don't have the same parasites. I have Babesia, which is a parasite inside of my blood, but I don't have roundworm, pinworms, which are thread worms. I don't have those worms anymore. I don't have parasites anymore in that aspect. But I cleansed for a year straight.
Okay. I would say, I think that maybe most people, do you think that they would clear everything in 30 days, or is it like
No.
normal that this is a normal thing for someone who's cleansed only once?
Yes, this is a normal thing, and 30 days is never going to be enough. You're exposed every day. You go
Yeah.
into like you're going to catch a parasite. You walk barefoot, which I'm not saying don't ground, but I am saying that when you do ground, go into an area and clean it with diatomaceous earth, and don't let animals go to the bathroom there. It's one reason why they don't let animals on the beach
Hmm.
because they poop and they have parasites and you
Parasites.
deworm your dog, but not everyone does. And then you're out there walking with your bare feet and a hookworm comes right up, or you've got roundworm right up into your feet because you have pores, like 125,000 pores in the bottom of your feet, each foot. So it's just openness for them to come in, and you're a great host, right? Where we eat terribly, we sit all day. But I would say that even 3 to 4 times a year is very, very not a lot. It's really not a lot. When other countries like Mexico, they've been taking an anti-parasitic pill for like their whole life. You know,
Mm.
they just know this is an issue. So I just didn't want people to, one, get the product and have a ton left over if they just couldn't do it. Because some people just can't get through the die-offs. And why do you want to spend a bunch of money and have a bunch of product left and then kind of waste the herbs? So I only did 30 days. That's really like, and then 3 to 4 times a year. Because some people feel great right after and some people don't, and they should keep cleansing then.
That's kind of where I'm like, I think I need to cleanse a little bit more, and I'm okay with
Yeah,
it because this I can see things changing in my body.
that's
Like
great.
I'm like I can just intuitively feel it. I also have been having weird dreams about parasites of like I had this dream the other night where, and I'm pretty intuitive, so I do get some messages, but like okay, so my eyes, the white around your eyes is supposed to get a lot better. And
Yes.
like I had half of my eye that was really white and then like half of my eye that was still like kind of yellow. And in the dream, I don't know who I was talking to, but I was like, oh, I need to cleanse a little bit more. They're still in me. And so I was like, I think I need to keep going.
You do. Isn't it crazy? Thank God for social media. I'm laying in bed and I had this terrible dream, and I woke up, and the dream was that I had something come out of my neck. So I immediately went to my TikTok and I said, "Oh my God, you guys, I have to tell you about this crazy dream. I had a dream that a worm came out of my neck right here, and I literally went like this, friend, and I had a mark." And I'm like, if this wasn't recorded, I wouldn't believe any of this. I had him swim out of my feet from the fulvic soak on video,
Oh my
out of my feet,
gosh.
swimming, swimming. I still have a mark. Like,
Do,
I wouldn't believe any of this.
do you recommend people microdose while they cleanse?
Yeah, I think that it would be really helpful because you get even more in tuned and you're working multiple layers of healing. It's not just one layer.
Yeah, it's all the layers. Yeah, somebody asked me, they were like, "Do you think that these physical parasites are connected to mental entities or
Yes.
mental parasites?" And I said, "I think absolutely. What do you think?"
Oh, 100%. 100% that they're all connected. They hold our trauma. Well, muscle holds memories, and they're in our muscle. I mean, think about it. When you eat meat, you're eating that animal, and they're in the meat. They're in your meat. They're in our bodies holding all of this on, and it's in 100%. And I share a lot of my mental health. I've gone through a lot for my PTSD. I had complex PTSD. I had serious anxiety. They don't just stick you on Klonopin at 4 milligrams unless you have some major anxiety. I had medical abandonment. I had a botched hysterectomy. All of that trauma is stored in my body. So as I'm releasing these, I am not ready. I was not ready, but I was being forced because my body was like, all right, enough, enough.
So Kim, my face looks shocked right now because I'm processing things because for the last 3 nights I've been having nightmares, which I
Oh,
never have. I haven't had nightmares in forever, and they're like just very traumatic, like people from my past or events that I'm just reliving, and I feel like since I'm cleansing still, it's just things that are getting released.
yes. That's so great though.
Oh my gosh. So, me and Ari, this was actually kind of an accident, but I actually host mushroom retreats. I'm actually going tomorrow to host one of them in Joshua Tree. So, I wanted to get this in before because I wanted to feel reinvigorated because I knew you were a mushroom girl. I always go test the mushrooms that I serve before I
Mhm,
serve them, obviously, because that makes sense. And me and Ari, we went to Joshua Tree during the cleanse and we took a large dose.
mhm.
And after we did it, we felt like we both actually released a lot more trauma than like normal because we were
Yeah,
on the parasite cleanse. It was hard to follow the diet the day after because you were in a different dimension. But, we did the best we could. Not really, but we were like, this is a soul journey. We need to, just,
listen, it's a
yeah,
guide.
it's a guide. Right. So, anyway, we went and did a huge journey. We both had crazy experiences. And what we were thinking, we were talking after and we were like, why this was before I knew you were how into mushrooms you were because I hadn't done like my deep research in it yet. We were, 2 weeks in and we were like, I feel like this actually goes hand in hand. Next time we do ParaFy, let's match it up so at the end of ParaFy, we do a huge dose of mushrooms.
Smart.
And we were like, let's try it next time. That kind of sounds fun.
Yeah,
So,
because you're cleaner too, right? Like you
yeah.
have released some things, so it's absorbing differently. You're going to feel differently. You might not even have to take so much.
Yep.
I've noticed how much I don't have to take from the beginning of my journeys to where I'm at now to feel the effects. I don't have to do what I used to do. I mean, I used to take a lot just because I couldn't feel it. And
Wow.
I mean, sometimes it doesn't want you to feel it in those moments.
Hmm.
Like it really is a teacher. But that's awesome. That's
So
so great.
I know. It's so divine. So I want to touch on the diet because a
Mm,
big thing, even I told you, and I've posted this on my Instagram, but my entire friend group cleansed at the same time, which was so cute. We have a big group chat and we shared all recipes and food and all the things. And one of the things that was about to stop a lot of the boys that were doing the cleanse was the diet, the
yeah.
guide, right? And I want to just quickly touch on, why we have a guide and then what your recommendation would be if that's the only reason you don't want to cleanse. Let's talk about
Right.
that.
Well, I am working on a new guide, so you would have two options, specifically because I chose the strictest diet, which is Candida. And because Candida and parasites go hand in hand, which Candida is a parasite, but when you have Candida, it's really easy for you to get more parasites. Anyway, so I picked the strictest guide possible, and that's the Candida diet. No meat, no sugar, no alcohol, no carbs. But the further research I've done in the last 3 years is that you should have some protein and you should have a little bit of these things in your diet, that it's not going to sway it one way or the other. That's why I say it's a guide. And if you can eat like that a couple of times a week, that's great. If you can eat like that once a week, that's great. It's about getting the herbs in your system. It's not about the diet. It's about as clean as you can eat, and we're trying to kill them. We're not trying to give them more energy. And so when you eat a lot of sugar, you're giving them energy. That's what they live off of. They actually live and love sugar. And so, and you're trying to not recontaminate yourself. And that's why we're like, no meat unless it's grass fed, grass finished, and really cooked. So you're really just doing this as somewhat of an avoidance, but it's about getting the herbs in your system, not about like not doing it at all. If you didn't follow the diet at all and you just ate your normal everyday sad diet or you just ate sugar and stuff, like you're still going to get benefits because one, there's a lot of benefits to these herbs that we just don't know, like magnesium and zinc. These are things that are just not getting back into our body. So it's still working. It's
Mhm.
still working. You're just not going to get the optimal level of cleanse.
Right. And I'm so glad we touched on this because what we're really, yeah, what we're trying to do is create an environment where they don't want to be anyway. So,
Right.
not giving them the sugar, not giving them the meat, but I'm going to be completely transparent. I ate meat the whole time. I just cooked it
Good.
really, really through.
Good.
I will say the other thing I want to just share with my audience is I normally have a sweet tooth, but I was a sugar fiend before this. Like I could not go to bed without eating something sweet. Just no way. And now, I mean, I've always just had a sweet tooth, but like now I can eat a bite of a sweet potato and like be good. Go to bed and just like be good. And there's parasites in our mouth, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I was talking to my sister because she's about to do ParaFy. Got my whole family to do it, and they haven't done it yet, but they're about to start. And she was like telling me about her sugar. She's like, "Oh my gosh, like I just like love sugar," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, they're in your mouth."
They are.
That's crazy.
That's why tinctures are the best because it's literally working. It's like biohacking stacking because
Eh,
doing your it's absorbing instantly too.
What does the castor oil do? I've heard you talk about that a couple times, and I've been using it like on my stomach, but like, how does that help detox?
So it can break down the toxins that are stored in the different layers of our
Mm,
like our dermis, you know.
mm,
And so it can go and absorb. And when you add red light to it, it actually is it pushes it more. So when you look at how you biohack, there's ways that you're driving it in. So the red light drives the castor oil deeper. It can go like 7 layers instead of just the normal 3 to 5. It'll push it harder. And that's what I like about tinctures as well, because they do the same thing with the alcohol. It pushes the medicine deeper. And so with castor oil, if you use it with a red light, I like castor oil packs because the heat is what pushes the castor oil deeper. But you add a red light, I'll get in like my Thursage with the red light. I'll smother myself in castor oil and I'll just sit in it because now I'm like doing two things at once. I'm sitting,
mhm.
three actually. You're sweating, you got the red light, and then you have the castor oil actually going in and breaking things up. It's literally going in and breaking up anything that could be stored inside of your tissue.
That's so, so good. You're like a detox queen these days.
I am, man.
So one of the last things I want to talk about is the contaminated water. I will say
Yeah,
that this is okay. So for me, this has caused me to create a lot of changes, and I kind of have to do one thing at a time, right? You're like, you got
right.
to like one thing at a time, choose one thing, change it. Okay, what's the next thing I can change? Because I've had so many flukes, which come from contaminated water, is that right?
Yeah, contaminated water, fish.
Or fish. Okay. So I was like looking into it, and I'm like, okay, so. I do rent and I want to start being more mindful of my water. Where can I start with that?
Okay, so I rent as well. I have a log home and I also rent an apartment. So I can speak on this because water is your foundation to your health. If you are recontaminating yourself on multiple levels, showering in contaminated water, you're rinsing your produce on, and that's what I was doing. I mean, I thought, oh, I'm not drinking it. I was brushing my teeth. I used retainers, so I was soaking it in it. And I can tell you that there is a frequency. Once you get into clean water, you're like, oh, I can't do it. Like, e- our water is terrible in our country. Like, you wouldn't go to Mexico and drink their water. Ours is worse.
I just went to Mexico, didn't drink a sip of water, but I do, yeah, I don't have, all I have right now is like a pure filter. So I feel like that's
Mm,
not enough.
mm-mm.
So what do I need?
Okay, so you want to make sure that any filter system has a 5 micron filter or smaller. Nematodes, which they don't test in our country, they don't test for nematodes, which are roundworm and physical worms, is 40 micron. So you're trying to filter that out. So 5 micron. Here's what I do. I have a water drop filtration system that's underneath each of my sinks. Water drop is a three, they have multiple filters, but this is a three filter system that you just hook it up underneath your sink. You literally go through the cold. So if you look underneath your sink, you're going to see this box and it has two pipes, not really pipes, they're like tubes that come out, right? You just unhook that and you hook it to the water filter system.
Can I hire
My
a handyman to do that?
Yeah, you totally can hire a
Okay. Yeah. I'm like,
handyman.
it's going one ear out the other. I'm like, okay, handyman. Great.
So when you open it up, you'll see, you'll go, oh, I totally know what she's talking about. So this filter system, I just run it on cold because I didn't feel like putting a hot one underneath it too. So all of the water in my bathrooms are all cold water.
You
Because
shower in cold water every day?
no, I have a whole shower
Oh.
system too. Yeah. So water drop is the filtration system I use under my sinks. On the shower head itself, I use a 5 micron filter. I got it from Amazon. They're really great. It's clear, so you can actually see how dirty your water is. And then inside of the filter, it has add back minerals because when you use this type of a filter system, it's stripping everything. So then your hair kind of comes dry, your skin is dry. So I use that in my shower and we travel with that wherever we go. We actually remove everyone that gets us as a guest, we just leave it everywhere we go.
Wow.
We just put it on and we use it and then we're like, we're out. But then you have a filter system that you can use for brushing your teeth when you're traveling. I wash my face with it when I travel.
Do you have that
So
linked anywhere? I can link it
I
below for
do.
everyone. Both
Yeah.
of them?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get
Everything I
those
talk
links.
about. And then on a house filtration system, I have a three filter system with a UV light. And the
Mhm.
UV light just adds an additional protection.
Wow.
So it's so important to filter your water. And it's so important to drink water that, like, this is a nano pure restructured oxygenated water. And it's 8.0, but it's actually medical grade. You can take it through TSA when you travel. And I love Aphora. They're amazing. My next build, I'm going to put Aphora in my house because you can soak in it and get the minerals. I don't think people realize that when you're showering or you're in a pool or you're actually getting 2 cups every 15 minutes of water absorbed into your body and everything in that water. And our
Wow.
water has heavy metals, it has pharmaceuticals, it has parasites. So
Oh my
anytime
gosh.
you're in a water system of any kind, whether it's the lake or it's a pool, you're absorbing everything that's in it because this is your biggest organ. And it's actually the fastest way to get medicine. It's also the fastest way to get toxins.
Okay, so I'm about to go to the store and get some Mountain Valley until I get my water system built out. I've heard you say Mountain Valley is the best bottled water. If
Usually you can find Mountain Valley. I really do like Icelandic. They scored like
Icelandic.
91 out of 100, but they're harder to find and they don't do it always in glass. So Mountain Valley is the best. And then I just keep it next to like my sink so that when I'm traveling, if I don't feel like going into the shower and grabbing that, I'll just pour that way. Like, it's about doing this to protect yourself, but not getting obsessed over it either.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
about, okay, so have I gone in a pool? I have. Have I gone and traveled without a shower filter? I have. Do I then just go home and cleanse and just know that I've been exposed to certain things? Right. That's kind of how you have to think about all of it, is that we're doing our best as humans, and there's like an 80-20 rule. 80% of your life you should follow these instructions and then you give yourself grace at 20% because you can't do
Yeah.
this all day every day and still have a normal fun life as a human being.
I think that's such a great way to like kind of wrap this because at the end of the day, I can see somebody feeling really overwhelmed if they're like,
Oh
"Oh
yeah.
my gosh, I have itchy bum, I have this, I have Like I definitely have parasites, and I will say the moment I realized I had parasites, I was like, get these things out of me. Like you want them out like now. You need to
Yes,
start cleansing. And so then we're talking about water, we're talking about it's a lot. So I
it
would
is.
say like start with just purchasing ParaFy.
Yeah, start slow. Start slow. And what's great is you don't come to my account and you're like, oh my gosh. You come to my account and laugh because that's what you need to do. You need to laugh about this. We have an answer, there's a solution, there's a problem, and we have a solution for it. And that's really kind of the way you have to think about it in life is, and just do your best.
Do your best. And
Yeah.
as long as for me, I'm like, okay, this is just gonna need to be a life. I was telling my friend, I was like, this is gonna unfortunately be something I'm gonna have to do multiple times a year. Or not unfortunately, right? Like, so happy to support you,
Yeah.
but I'm like, this, yeah, you're like,
Unfortunately, we have to do this. I
yeah.
get it.
Unfortunately, we have to do this. And I was telling her, I was like, I'm not perfect on the diet. There was a few days I had to go out to eat or I was celebrating a friend's birthday. And if you're doing it multiple times, then you just do the best you can. And that's that.
You just
So
do your best. I would love to know your guys' recipes. We are creating another community cookbook because I do see how important it is to eat meat on the cleanse.
we have so many. And
Oh,
actually,
yes.
Ari has already created it in
Oh,
Canva. So we're happy to
oh
send
my
it
God.
off. Yeah.
Oh, we would love that at Rogershood community. We would love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
We
Yeah.
also made so many desserts because, we were doing it as a friend group, which was actually really nice
That's
because
so fun.
like, when you have a friend group, you're like, if they're all going out to dinner and you're on a parasite cleanse, you're like, "Ugh, I don't want to like ruin my cleanse." But what
Right.
we would do is we would make these like we would all eat dinner together and then we would like me and Ari would create a parasite friendly dessert that we could all have. So, we would find a recipe, but then we would cut the sugar like in half so that the whole recipe only had, a half cup of honey and then it's like it's basically fine. And so we would kind of just made it fun. And I think that, if you are wanting to cleanse, I really recommend finding friends to do it with, finding a
For
buddy.
sure.
It makes it so much better. Our group chat was going off. We were like, is this a die off symptom? I feel like shit today. Like, oh my gosh, I'm having a hard day. And it was just really nice to be able to like talk to people about it.
That's funny. I was literally just thinking that. You took the words right out of my mind. We
Yeah.
started a program called Bug Out that where I do like on Mondays, you get on a Zoom call with me and we sit and talk for an hour about everything that's gone on because it is so important to have a group do this. It's most of us don't talk about our health. And so it's kind of
No.
isolating, and the more you can have your tribe around you while doing this, the more successful you're going to be. And look at all of the cool recipes and ideas. And, you guys collabed and you had fun and you made it fun. You made it fun. And
We
that's what
made
this
it
is all
fun.
about. Yeah.
Yeah. And on the way to making it fun, we raised our frequency.
Yep.
We cleared a lot of trauma. We cleared parasites. And moral of the story, guys, is if you have an inkling in your heart that you need to cleanse, P.S. you do, you should cleanse.
Yes, for sure. You should.
This was one of my favorite episodes I've ever done, Kim.
Hey, man, I loved it. It was great.
I honestly never thought we would be here. And I think that I feel like your life has kind of been this weird surrender experiment. I don't know if you've read that book, but like, did you ever think that you would be here doing this?
No, but I definitely am on the hero's journey.
Mm.
There's no way around it. I used to wear my hero's journey shirt with pride. I, I'm on a hero's journey. Like I went to the underbelly and I saw it all and I was like, oh, this is not fair for everyone. I need to fix this. I need to help raise the frequency of humanity and have a better understanding of these bodies because it's pretty cool. But no, what's the other one called Surrender? I'm gonna write it down.
The Surrender Experiment, one of my favorite books by Michael Singer. It just kind of talks about how when you really follow that innate Shakti energy of life, like you allow your ego to, you're going to have so many circumstances where your ego is going to say this is wrong, you shouldn't do this. Like why are you letting this person into your life? But then if you surrender to just the flow of life, your
Mhm.
life is actually going to just end up in a way crazier way than you could ever imagine because that flow of life, like it's source energy, it's God, it's Shakti, it's Kundalini, and it knows it's intelligent love, loving intelligence, and it knows way better than your ego. So
I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go get it because like
yes.
it's good to have those guidance. It's good. Yeah, and that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, Kim, from the bottom of my heart, I feel like your mission is so important. Thank you for following your path. Thank you for following your intuition. Thank you for sitting with those plant allies for hours and hours and hours and getting all this information. Your ripple effect is massive. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming on Alignment Academy, and I'm so excited for my community to cleanse and raise their frequency.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Bye everyone. See you next week.
Bye.